State
Yeah.
College, and they have some very unhappy people with running track.
Okay, I've got 7:00. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Ross?
Yes.
Sarah? Here. Eric?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Nancy? Here.
Okay, everybody should have received a copy of the October 7th public hearing minutes. Any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to accept the minutes as distributed by Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Everyone should have received the October 7th council meeting minutes. Any corrections or additions?
Motion to adopt.
I have a motion to accept the minutes as distributed by Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Third item, the approval of the October 21st Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Any corrections or additions? Do I have a
Make a
motion?
motion.
I have a motion by Nancy to accept the minutes as distributed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sarah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Administrative reports. I have nothing at this time. We'll move on to the village solicitor's report.
Nothing to report other than the legislation that's here before everyone. If anyone has questions, I reviewed the bids that were submitted that John's going to speak on later. They were all compliant with all of the requirements. Short of that, there's nothing further to report. There was a withdrawal of one bid, and that was waste management.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions for the solicitor at this time? Okay, thanks, Bill. Up next is the police chief's report. Chief?
Your activity reports will come out for you at the committee of the whole meeting. I'm just saying off the top of my head that my activities that we've been involved with is still keeping out there. There's been just a lot more going on, not just here, but throughout the whole county in general. Other than that, that's all I have.
Does anybody have any questions for the chief at this time?
I have two questions. We're having the Christmas thing the first weekend of December. Will the SUV that's in there, do you think that will be?
Yeah, we're arranging to get it moved. That SUV that's in there, it was out at a traffic stop.
Yeah.
What happened, the person that was driving it is not the owner. The owner is actually deceased about 4 years ago.
Oh.
So it's kind of in limbo at this point. The tow company actually towed it. They're going to assist us with the process. So we will send a notice, as funny as it sounds, to the registered owner's address. Look at what county that's in, reach out to that county, determine if there's been any what's the word I'm looking for? Lawyer, help me out here.
Probate.
Probate. If there's been any probate action taken on it, and if that vehicle is listed, then it would go to them. If not, the tow company advised that they would be able to get the vehicle. They have a process they go through of sending out X amount of day notice, and then they're able to go after the title of the vehicle. They would probably scrap that vehicle.
Okay.
So it'd be easier to go through that. That way the tow company has channels they go through, which would really assist us out with it. But yeah, I am looking forward to getting that out of there. There was 2 vehicles. There was another vehicle that we had a hold that has since been released by the courts.
Okay. And the other one, I know we talked about it a couple times, that big heavy breathalyzer machine or whatever that's in there. You said you needed to get legislation to throw it away.
Yeah, so that was actually, and that's something I'll speak with Bill. That item was actually given to us by the state through the Ohio Peace Officers Training Academy. We used and operated it. However, that piece of equipment is now obsolete. It's been replaced by newer, greater technology. So I would just need to get an action to be able to, remove it, dispose of it.
Okay, so maybe by the next meeting. Okay, thank you, that's
Was
all I
that,
had.
that wasn't included with the other items that we said to donate or get rid of?
No, those items before were old body armor, tampon devices.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was not included on it. It has no financial value
Right.
to us or really anybody at this point.
Okay, are there any other questions for the police chief? Okay, thank you, sir. Village administrators report.
Okay, let's see here, I've got enough papers to. I apologize for the length of what I'm about to do, but we'll go through it. Normal report, I want to keep you up to date on our water and wastewater again. Wastewater treatment plant for October, average daily flow was 337,000 against a 430,000 capacity. So we're up against it, but we still have some room. Water treatment plant, average daily flow, 427,000 against a capacity of 1 million. So the water plant's got some cushion in there, but I'd like to keep you informed of that because some of your decisions might be reflected on how much capacity we have. If there's any question on it before we go on to the next one, because the next one will be the fun one. That being said, we did open our bids on the garbage refuge collection. We got 3 bids, one from Rumpke, one from Waste Management, and one from Local Waste. Waste Management acknowledged and made some errors in the preparation of the bid, and they actually flipped the 2. And they sent us a letter requesting that we dismiss their bid, which is a normal process. There's no reason to force them into a bid. At that point, we fight it for the next 3 years. And it makes sense to do it. So we did accept that, and their bid has been removed. As the solicitor mentioned, I've looked also at the documents, and both the next 2 bidders, the one for Rumpke and Local Waste, their papers seem to be in order, bonds and so forth. So we went through and based it basically upon the bids and did the tabulation, and the apparent low bidder comes out to be Rumpke. Like I say, I've looked at the paperwork that was submitted, the paperwork gone through. At this point, my recommendation for council consideration when the legislation is to award it to Rumpke. Next item on my list deals with fountains. If you remember last meeting, we talked about fountains and ponds and so forth. I had a great conversation with Matthew Dickens from Grove City. Matter of fact, we're setting up some meetings and going through things and sharing ideas. But the question comes up, the number of fountains we need to have in our ponds. Right now, our regulation does not specify a number. If you got 20 acres, you get 1 fountain. If you got 2 acres, you get 1 fountain. Grove City's recommendation, what they have in their book, is 1 fountain for every 3/4 of an acre. And that makes sense. So we've gone through and read some of the things, it does make sense. But one of the things that they didn't have, there's nothing in the regulation to talk about size of the fountains. We did get some information from our zoning officer, and that was very helpful as far as sizing. And I think what we recommend is that the minimum size for the fountain and the aerator is 1 horsepower. And I did contact the supplier. I have a relationship with him now, exchanging emails back and forth, and he'll keep us informed. But with council's direction, I'd like to go ahead and make that part of the stipulation also. There will be a 1 horsepower minimum, and there will be 1 aerator and fountain for every 3/4 of an acre. Now, Grove City doesn't have anything the size of ours, believe that or not, out of the industrial park. We have some retention ponds out there that are 20-some acres. They have nothing like that. They do have a little caveat in their regulations. Anything above, I think it's 4.5 acres, you have to go to the tech committee, and they'll tell you how many to put in there. Otherwise, we're going to have fountains all over. It would be a problem. Grove City also has a rating, types 1 through 4. Type 1 is one that's right along the road, highly visible, everybody see it. They have much stricter regulation on that. The way it has to be landscaped, it has to be walking paths go around it, all those kind of things. we're not quite at that point, but that's how they differentiate it. Now, our ponds out at the industrial park would be a 4. Nobody sees them, they're kind of hidden back, and, they don't have to have all the walk path, they don't have to have the stone and so forth around it. So some of those kind of things we might want to think about. They have a very sophisticated book, it's probably got 100 and 200 pages in it. We're not ready for that right now. That's not what we want to do. We want to address the quantity and quality of the aerators in each pond and go do it that way. Also want to make sure we have a time requirement as when the aerators must be operational. And my recommendation, I've talked to Jim on also, is from April 1 to October 30th, they must be on. Now, they can leave them on 365 days a year, but they must be on during that time period. That's the worst period for mosquitoes and algae and those kinds of things. The other thing we talked about, and as you mentioned about the lighted fountains, lights and so forth, some of the fountains, they certainly are available. My only concern is if we make them too attractive, they become a attraction, and you're gonna get more people coming around. Wow, look, it's blue now, it's white now, and you get pretty sophisticated with some of these things. So maybe what we want to do instead of lighting the fountains is have some lights around some of the ponds, just like streetlights, nice little streetlights. So I'd like to look at it that way as opposed to lighting the fountain, so it doesn't become attraction to get people to come out there and then we have other problems. So that's the way we kind of approach that one.
Like it.
The company that we're working with is Fountains to Go. Fountains to Go. And they've been very helpful. They represent probably 6 different fountain manufacturers. And I think I'd like to rate, recommendation in our regulations that theirs or equivalent. So that they can go to them, we can build a relationship with them and kind of dictate what we want to have for our fountains and future fountains. Now, it's pretty difficult to go back on existing fountains and make a lot of changes, but any future fountains, we can certainly institute these new policies. And if that kind of suits the direction the council wanted to go with it, I'll go ahead and prepare the write-up and so forth, then it'll be some legislation for council to pass.
Yeah, I mean, we talked
Who
about
would
it
the-
last year.
Who would the responsibility of the lights become? Would that become ours after a bond period, or if we had street lights around a fountain?
Well, right now, the streetlights are all being taken care of, I believe, by the HOAs.
So is that what you're talking about, just the street lights?
Streetlights, yes.
So no like additional lighting like by the pond?
I thought.
They would be by the ponds. If we
Yes.
walk or anything, it would be,
So with that, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, if we
That would-
say they got to put lights around the pond, does that transfer to us after their bond expires, or?
HOA. We make sure, the ponds are all HOA, as the fountains are all HOA.
But the street lights are on us, right?
Well, I'm talking, these would be a little different, because they're right around the pond, so I'm looking at those absolutely different than the streetlights. I think the streetlight still is covered by HOA,
The newer subdivisions, yes.
they're covered by, so all the streetlights and everything are taken care of by HOA.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to get it covered that way, and they're paying the bills, the lights are still on, so. Yeah, and that would take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea is not to put more burden on the village,
Right.
but I think that would address your concern, Nancy, as far as safety.
Yeah, well, my main thing was, wanted them to look nice. And the upkeep and stuff around it with all those cattails growing in there, having that and an additional like bubble or whatever they call in there. Hopefully I don't know if that would help with that
It helps with algae, I'm not sure what it's gonna do for cattails.
yeah.
So
Just have to
cattails is
stay on
something
top
you
of-
just need to,
Stay
one
on
up on,
top of
Welsh Road.
Yeah, that
That
looks
came out really
100%
nice.
better.
And
Yeah.
It was badly needed.
Oh, yeah.
And if we stay on it, and it gets, like anything else, as we grow, put more stipulate, someone's got to police it now. And I don't mean Adam.
Yeah.
But the villages need to police these things to make sure they are being taken care of. So we just kind of need to kind of funnel that into the process also.
Once it got back to the HOA,
That would be in zoning for enforcement, but yeah, the HOA would be responsible.
Yeah.
HOA did work, but if HOA isn't doing it, and you've got an unsightly pond, so forth, we have to step, we're kind of the
Yeah.
overall authority, and we have to force the issue. And then after the HOA is who we go after.
Do we have currently a benchmark that puts them in violation, or is that something we would need to put?
We have certainly some things in our book, but it's not strong enough. If you go through, keep going to Grove City because I just read it. They have certain reports that have to be filed annually on the water quality and conditions of ponds and so forth. And they haven't done it yet, but when I talked to them, they're in the process now of citing some people. And basically what that told me is Grove City has not made a big issue out of it now, till now. And this book was just published in January. So brand new regulation. And I think they're getting some push from EPA and so forth on the water quality in their ponds. They had, what do you tell me, maybe 80 ponds.
Oh.
And most of them are all HOA, but there's a couple of ponds that are the cities because it drains a lot of public property into it. So they took the responsibility of it.
Right.
So unfortunately, we don't have anything like that. It's all going on private. But if we ever did get to, and basically if we had parkland, something like that, yeah, that would become a city or a village issue.
Do you think we need to tidy that zoning code up any? I mean,
I think we should.
at the
but I
same
don't-
time, just so we do it all?
Well, that would be great. So I don't want to delay this.
No,
We
no.
need these kind of things pretty quick.
Yeah,
And we can roll it, because I don't want to put a bunch of regulations in there if we don't have them to enforce it.
right.
So a little more thought needs to go into it before we want to make that part of the
As long
policy.
as they know somebody's working on it, it's
Yes.
coming up, so
Yes.
might as well.
John, can you forward a link to Grove City's regulation if it's online and email it to us?
Well, we can send it to you.
Yeah,
I mean, just so we have the ability, if we want to look and see maybe what direction they're going, and maybe one of us or all of us can lend a hand on combing through that so it doesn't all fall on your plate.
We can certainly do that. I mean, I can send it to all council.
That's part of the Grove City 2050.
No, not part of the
No.
20, this is a separate
Separate.
issue. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I already have it, so you don't send
Yeah,
it.
but you want to send it to everybody then?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, you'll have it that way. So if there's any other questions on the fountains, I just want to keep you abreast of where we stand.
So you're going to do some sort of legislation for the cow or for the next meeting?
The next meeting, probably council meeting.
Okay.
But what I'd like to do, if I get it put together, is I'll get it to the cow meeting so you can at least see it.
Yeah,
Then
that
we
would be nice.
act on the next one.
Okay, thank you.
The next two items are both, one good and one bad. At the wastewater treatment plant, our consultant, Sands Decker, and I don't know how many have heard or whatever, Mark Cameron's a good guy, I've known him for 50-some years, but he passed away. Yeah, Mark died about a week ago, suddenly. So we're all taken back by that, and we'll certainly miss Mark. Good guy, but it will create certain issues for us because he is the only contact with a consultant that we've had. And it's on a $14 million project. So one of his partners, Scott Sands is Sands Decker, is trying to work with the contractor, work with us, so we kind of get our arms wrapped around it and get it back up to speed. But it's going to push our starting date. I think last time I said it'd be the first quarter of 25. It's probably going to close to the end of the second quarter of 25. By the time we get it all put together and there's some issues going on. But so I want council to know where we stood and if that had happened.
We got enough cushion, right? That it won't bother anything pushing it off.
With what?
I mean, the push off of everything isn't going to cause us any issues.
We hope not, but we're trying to be very cognizant of it and get his replacement in order so we kind of bring him up to speed and so forth. But anytime you make a transition like that, there is going to be some time lost and some dollars involved. And it certainly wasn't planned, but it's certainly going to be an issue for the village to try and pull the proverbial chestnut out of the fire. The other item I've got, which is a mixed lesson, depending on what side of the curve you're in. For the first time, the village is going to have an employee retire. And Jim Mascara, our superintendent,
Oh,
is going to retire as of December 6th.
We need to vote on that.
I'll bring Jim, you can tell Jim.
I'll tell you.
So I wanted to keep council aware of that, and we got some in the process. John Wilson got his class 3,
Yes,
just past that. So we still have 2 class 3 operators. The plant requires a class 3 operator has to be on site. And if we didn't have the backup, the class 3 operator couldn't take vacation, have to have someone there. So now that we've got 2, with Nate and John, that kind of helps a little bit there. But we're going to be short a man. And we'll probably go ahead and advertise, do some things like that to try to get another man and bring that before council. But all these things are kind of going on, there's a lot of things going on, and a month from now, Jim will ride off in the sunset. And we're trying to shore that piece up also. We got that going on, we got the new sewer plant going on, and we gotta make sure we get the operators in there and train them properly so that they can operate the plant. So we're trying to get all that married together, but there's a lot of pieces to it. So it can be done seamlessly, and we don't have a $14 million plant out there that nobody knows how to operate. So we're working hard on that. I assure you that's a top priority. Jim was trying to train his successor as best he can, but December 6th, Jim rides off and Nate's on his own, and we're gonna make sure he's got all the chances to succeed, and all the training, whatever he needs. So with the end of that, I apologize for the length, but I'll answer any questions on any topics that council might have.
Council have anything additional for John?
No, not at this time.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next, village engineers report. I've got an email from Susan today. She is out of town. So she said there wasn't anything really for her to update at this time.
Yeah.
So I have nothing from there. Zoning administrators report. Jim had a procedure today. He's at home healing up. So we have nothing from Jim at this time. We'll move on. Fiscal officers report. Anything? Do we have any questions for the fiscal officer? Okay.
I apologize. If you've seen our beautiful flashing red light out on 762, as you're headed towards 23, the traffic light, flashing red lights. Should you wonder why it's just flashing and not on, there's a warrant that was issued stating certain parameters. And because the industrial park has not grown as fast and doesn't have the traffic need, ODOT won't let us turn it on to the red, yellow, green. So it's gonna continue to flash red,
Yellow.
yellow,
Yellow.
depending on which way you're looking at it. It's supposed, when it's in operation,
Yeah.
it'll be traffic actuated. When you come out on Kenmore Boulevard, you sit there, camera will take it, it'll trip it, and then it'll stop the other direction, you can pull out. But right now, it's just
Okay.
red on Kenmore, yellow
Yeah.
on 762. So just make sure council knew, why isn't that turned on? So we need to turn it on. That's what's going on there.
Okay. Thanks, John. We'll move on to legislative reports. Nancy?
Just wanted to let everybody know that the mayor and I were invited to GoGov. They reached out to us and wanted to do a spotlight on our village. And so we met with Izzy, answered some questions, and there'll be like a blog that's going to come out on their website with our interview. And also, when Izzy looked at our numbers, we were double what they felt we would be right now. So we're way above the mark on people downloading and using this app. So
Good.
just want to let everybody know that.
And just Nancy, in case you didn't notice, Izzy sent an email out with the blog put together. Did you see that?
Yep, I
Okay.
saw it.
I saw it just came out this evening.
Yep.
Okay. Ross?
Listening.
Sarah?
Nothing.
Okay. Eric?
Nothing.
Jay?
Nothing.
Okay. Move on down to committee reports. Parks and Recreation Committee.
Well, in between this meeting and the last, we had our Halloween event. It was very successful. We put together, I should say my mom and Paula put together 215 treats, and we passed every single one of them out. We had a large crowd. I think it was bigger than last year. So I wanted to thank Pick 'em Up Joe. They donated the bounce houses. I want to thank the fire department came down. I think our officers were there, passing out stickers and letting the kids get in the car. All the volunteers that were there, it cannot be done without volunteers. So I appreciate all of you. The second thing is we're going to be having our annual Christmas parade December 7th at 4. Just wanted to bring that up about the road closures with council. I've met with the chief on the safety plan, and I have the volunteers intact to man the roads. So that's still good this year for everybody with the road closure. I guess I would need a motion on that.
I believe the council had already approved.
Did we already
Three
approve it?
things that we approved, that was one.
That was one.
I believe that was,
Sorry.
that was
Yeah.
approved back in February,
Was it
March.
February? Okay, I couldn't remember if I put it out there then or not.
I believe. we
I
went
didn't
ahead
want to
and
get
did that
there
too.
and then somebody say, well, didn't approve it. So, all right, good deal. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Land Use Committee.
Nothing to report.
Okay, moving on to public comments. We have one person signed up, Adam.
Adam Hook from 9493 McCord Road. And I came mainly just to see if anything was going to be presented or talked about with Addison Farms. And I figured while I was here, I would utilize the opportunity to publicly recognize and thank the Parks Committee and everybody involved for the Halloween party she just talked about. It was wonderful. My son talked about it for a week or two after the fact, and he had a wonderful time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on to business items. Up next is the Addison Farms TIF discussion. I don't believe we have anybody here from Addison Farms this evening. Bill, do you have anything you'd like to kind of give council an update since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, I got an email late today, 3:15, and I tried to hook up with Alan before the meeting on some thoughts that council for Addison Farms had. But we have not had an opportunity, based on Alan's schedule and my schedule, to meet. Since I couldn't hook up with Alan, I did call Nancy and let her know that they wanted to get on the agenda to discuss the TIF before they bring anything off the table. So I'll be following up with their attorneys. And we'll decide on a path forward for them to come and discuss what they're looking at as far as a TIF before they move to take off the table their third vote on the zoning variances that they were requesting.
So on this, should we schedule that for discussion at the next COW?
That's what I was going
I'm-
to
I'm gonna speak with council
Okay.
and when I say council, SEL, not CIL, and see what they wish to do, and let them know that village council's strong feeling is that this should be done at a regularly scheduled meeting, not at a COW meeting.
And I agree. The reason I ask that is there are a lot of specific questions that make a difference is about what considerations need to be made. And then, just to have a sheet that's got the number, where's the money going to be spent? How is it going to be used? Over what time frame? When is the, what is the anticipation to start? How much of it's going to be off-site? How much of it's going to be on-site? What are the developers, what's the picture on that? How do we partner with the developers since there aren't any? I mean, there are just things
so many
that
questions.
are just
And I think the last time they were here, I'd asked, because they said they had an updated tip on the horse, and I'd asked them
Yeah.
to send that to us prior to the cow, so we would have something to look at.
I know.
And we didn't receive anything. So,
I believe, Nancy, it's still a work in progress for them. I think that Alan has made his position clear all along as to what the TIF could be used for, and the fact that it needs to be off-site, and the dollars and all of the other questions that come up. So I'll be in touch with them. We'll get a working plan. You all have the latest TIF request that they submitted to Alan. Hopefully we'll get the documentation with sufficient time that you all can digest it before the next regularly scheduled meeting, and have them come in and take questions at that point in time, and we'll decide a best path forward for all involved.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think at the Cal meeting, it seemed we were somewhat united that the village didn't want to be in the business of paying for on-site.
right.
So, I mean, if that's our stance, can we let them know we don't want to be in the business?
Well,
of
you
paying for
haven't
on-site?
taken a vote. So I think they could hear the COW meeting. They were sitting in this room during the COW meeting, so, but we can't presuppose how anyone on council is going to vote.
I mean, is that something that we should do, or, I mean, not right now, but is that something we should
Not
put into
yet.
legislation?
Until there's a vote on it, it's all a discussion. You're not gonna make a vote tonight.
Mayor, can we put something together to discuss at the Cal with that type of legislation?
We're basically looking at the same thing. I mean,
Yeah. that's
there,
what they haven't
there's,
sent us
there's
anything.
not a need for
Well, I mean-
legislation at this time because like Ross said, he's got a lot of questions and I'm sure some of the other people on here do. And that's why we just kind of bring them. And like I said, first of all, does council still want them to do their discussion here at a regular meeting and not?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that I thought that was the feeling of council.
I thought they were gonna be here
I
tonight.
did too. I thought that's why it was a
It's on
discussion.
business items.
I mean,
And-
because we discussed it back there. I thought this was a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, okay, I will continue to keep them on the agenda for the next meeting,
Okay.
next regular council meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
And I probably won't have anything, if I get anything additional, I'll put it on for the Cal meeting. If I don't get anything else, then they'll be here at the next regular meeting and we can ask questions and go from there.
Okay. Thank you.
But
Okay, next item up is Chestnut Commons and Estate Special Event Road Closure. We've got a special event application, which we're in the middle, these will eventually disappear,
Yes.
but they haven't, the legislation has not been passed yet, so we have a special event. What they're wanting to do is a parade, and you have all the information I submitted to you, everything that I had received. Excuse me. And they're, it says on their application, just on neighborhood streets, and they're saying, no, there won't be streets closed. Well, that doesn't work because if we're having a parade, there will be streets closed. And I've talked to the chief about this and tried to get some input from him. And what we have decided, and even with or without the new legislation coming down the path, you'll notice on the new legislation that you'll be considering, street closures will be approved by the village council.
Yes. Saw that.
And the chief, he does have the authority to close the streets at any time, but he would like to keep his street closures limited to emergency purposes only.
Agreed.
And if there's something over and above emergencies, then it needs to come to council. This here, like I said, this is a special event. There will have to be streets closed if they're doing the parade. So now it's up to council to look at the information provided and what's council's thoughts on this?
Well, my thought is we have a village Christmas parade that they are invited to take a part of. Why do we need to divide the village and have a second Christmas parade in a subdivision? They're a part of Commercial Point just as much as everybody else. So, I mean, I'd make a motion to deny it.
Discussion.
Yes.
Just for the sake of information, is this something that needs to be approved by their HOA group, or who's the party behind this? Is just
The resident.
individual or
Just the
neighbors?
resident.
As far as I can tell, it's,
The application is just.
the application is just a resident.
Oh, okay,
I don't have no business names or, that's why I wanted to submit everything I
that's
received to
where I
council.
was kind of at loss on the thing, because usually there's a sponsorship of something that, the HOA or some group takes ownership and responsibility for the content. I mean, there's some liability issues here that I don't know. That's not part of what we're looking at. But
Well, it kind of is. Welch
well,
Road.
Well, yeah, that was my concern. It's starting on Welch Road. If it's a parade, they have to kind of line up. Like, that's not a great place to be starting. Yeah, I kind of agree with Eric. I mean, I think the village has a parade and we have a great parks department, and we do the best that, we do as much as we can for the village. And so we'd really like to incorporate them into our parade if they'd be open to it.
And I was kind of hoping someone would be here to answer some of these questions. I know last year they did a parade, and I had let them know in plenty of advance last year that if they was going to be doing a parade this year, it would have to be approved by council.
Yeah.
And you'll notice on some of the instructions that the papers you've got, it says it's supposed to be presented 90 days prior to the event.
well, but
But-
it hasn't passed yet.
Well, no, this is the old, this is going by the old one.
Okay.
And it's just, but it kind of came in at the last minute. It's like, okay, well, we hadn't sent out the packet yet. Let me get it to council so at least everyone can see it. I didn't want to throw the whole thing out on my own over a technicality. That wouldn't be right.
I had spoken
So-
to a couple of them that are, and one other person that's helping with this. And I'm like, well, I know last year they started their lineup at Pettit's. And I said, Welch Road, believe it, I mean, I consider it like a major highway now, there's so much traffic. And they have golf carts. And I said, golf carts can't be on that road.
Well,
They could
actually,
be on southbound, not
Yeah,
northbound.
I'm just saying, they'll go
actually,
Pettit's.
we don't have the authority to close down
That's correct.
or to grant anyone a parade permit or anything else on a Pickaway County street.
That's
And
correct.
the northbound lane is Pickaway.
Pickaway County.
Yeah, that is Pickaway County, not the village.
And they can't be on the walk path by ordinance.
So I don't know as far as their lineup, I've got the same thing you do. It says start and it shows it right there at the entrance to Chestnut Commons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And maybe they plan on doing their lineup there. I honestly don't know.
And what time of day is, I
it's in
mean,
at night.
it's at night?
It's in the evening.
And then it said, well, if anything else, I could just ride Santa in the back of the truck and go through the development. Just Santa himself. So I don't know. That's just the information I got. I was like, why don't you guys come join ours? But neither one of them could be here tonight. Because I said it'd be really nice if one of you could be here to answer any questions.
Yeah, I think we just have additional questions, and if it's just Santa in the back of a truck, then maybe, they could that might be a little bit safer.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about safety on
Yeah.
Love Road.
And then would they also, have to meet with you and do the same safety plan that we had to do?
Well,
If they're
that's-
closing down a road?
That's something I want to comment on is, last year, before, we got ready for this year, I put together a parade plan, like an event plan, because typically the Christmas parade and what the men's club does during the homecoming, the same parade route, same everything. And people don't realize how many little road intersections there truly are on that route. So we print out this whole map and started putting little marks. And last year at the Christmas parade, we found that out, because what happens, we block off the main roadways. Well, you got all these cars trapped after we shut them. They're still driving. So we're playing like dodgeball, trying to get them around. And there's only so much two or three cops can do. So the homecoming festival parade, that was the best parade operation that we've ever had here. They provided a lot of volunteers. We got signage out. I said, I prefer a police car or like a road department. We shut down the major roads, going from 55 into the village. Then on the inside, they put signage up and they had volunteers that were able to go around, stop, if somebody's trying to go, hey, just hold up a few minutes, or hey, try going this way. So it just went off without a hitch. It was perfect. I had a meeting with Nancy, showed her the plan, said, hey, this is what we'd like to do. And she said, yeah, we'll work on getting it set up. So I don't see, and I don't want to call it enforcing, but using a plan that we have, we're having these other organizations, and the key word to that is also organizations.
Yeah.
That's doing this.
Yeah.
Because I have to look at it as, cops were paranoid. Everybody sees, it's Santa Claus driving around. I picture somebody that don't know how to drive or whatever, plowing through, running over people. Does that happen? Yes. Look around. It's happened other places. Has not happened here. Fortunately, pray it never does. But we have to take it into account. So when they're talking about doing a parade and not shutting roads down, that's a bad situation there. Even though it's a neighborhood roadway, a car doing 25, 30 mile an hour can do a lot of damage. Especially if there was people on a float or whatever. So, I think the important thing is, we do have a plan. We have an intended parade route that plan was orchestrated to. And I think we just need to my recommendation is stick with that instead of every time somebody wants to change something. No, we have a plan, we have a process, this is what to expect. Because if, what's next? If somebody wants to have I don't know, I got a new puppy parade and they want to go into Walker Point, so we have a set parade route. That's what we probably need to stick with. Keep it uniform.
And
So
And-
instead of denying the motion, would somebody coming in and speaking to you about the appropriate route and the safer route be an option?
Yeah, I'm not against people. I'm not the fun police.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm just
but-
trying to find a way around like denying this and still giving them, what they want.
Yeah,
In
I
a-
would not be opposed to that, of looking at maybe a safer option, like you said, maybe if it's
Right.
just escorting Santa through there's nothing I can stop anybody from dressing up like Santa Claus and
Yeah.
driving their truck around.
Right.
But if it's something that, that might be a better option. But when you look at parades, especially last year when it occurred, they came in very short notice to the mayor. We made it work. Wasn't the best situation because it did involve going out on Welch Road. And Welch Road, you are correct. I think it's like the 4th busiest roadway now in Pickaway County.
sounds right.
And if you ever doubt traffic, we were out on 104 earlier. They had a wreck on 23.
Yeah.
And we had to go shut 762 down. Then they had another wreck at Walker on 104 right immediately after that. And it was just insane the amount of traffic that's coming down through here. So if they hear 104 is blocked, where's the next route? If there was a problem on 23, 104, well, if you were coming from Columbus, what would be the other roadway you'd come in?
Yeah.
It's going to be Welch Road.
Yep.
And it's a very busy road.
So maybe a better option is if they want to drive Santa around, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, and have a police escort or come in and meet with Adam and come up with a different parade route where they're not starting on Welch or going on Welch. Because can't they go in the other way? Through the other Chestnut, like behind Pettit?
But I don't think we can amend their application.
No,
I don't think we can amend their application, though. We can either approve or deny, correct?
You can also table it.
we can suggest,
We can what, Bill?
You can also table it. This is just an application for a parade. The route's not set in stone. It needs to be approved by the chief and by council. So you can table this. Point of order, Eric had a motion to deny it. If there's not a second, someone can move to table it and have them come in and explain to chief a new route, or
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table it.
you need a second.
Okay, at this point then, since we have a motion to deny by Eric, and there is no second at this point,
Mhm.
so we have a motion to table by Sarah and a second by
second.
Ross. All in favor to table the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passed to table it. Okay, they can come in and meet with the chief, have them meet with you. This will be up in front of the council at the December meeting to discuss then, and hopefully they'll have a representative and we can go through it then again.
Yeah, I would, when you meet with them, I would highly suggest they have somebody here.
Yeah, I would, we have their contact information, obviously.
Yes.
I would really prefer it be done before your all's committee of the whole meeting in case of something you all want to take a look at them before your December meeting.
Okay.
Because we are kind of getting down to the wire. What was the date they were looking at doing this?
They're the 14th of December.
And I won't be here.
Wait a minute, we didn't vote.
Okay, that item's tabled for now, and we'll see what we can do with that. Up next, business item C, 25 Harsh Alley, a discussion with the property owner or his representative.
Say, you don't know it.
I don't know it, but I'll be here on behalf of Ladders LLC. Keevan and Ryan are here with us if you guys have direct questions for them. Today, we just want to come to council and kind of discuss options. Obviously, 25 Harsh Alley is the old fire department building that was utilized by Sac Township. I know it's been a topic of discussion in front of council recently. And right now, it's just sitting vacant. Currently zoned as a single-family residential facility. Obviously, doesn't make a whole lot of sense given the size and nature of the building. So we want to present 3 separate options and also hear if council has any separate options of those.
Thank you, Bruce.
So, two of the options, we've actually applied for rezoning for, just in the hopes of moving the timetable along a little bit. And that would be for a multifamily development. What I've presented to you now is also the variance that we've applied for. So this would be a development that's intended to serve what we see as an underserved demographic here. Obviously, we providing housing that folks can afford in this area, we don't have any. We don't have any apartments to begin with, and even the apartments that are nearby are very expensive. They're also pretty large, so they don't really serve that kind of empty nester age group for one bedrooms. And so the idea would be, and again, we're gonna call this an artistic rendering at this point, right? So we haven't had an engineer take a look at it yet, haven't had structural. These plans are based upon the senior center that's currently at Beulah Park. Keegan pulled those offline and we overlaid them over top of the fire department layout so we could see what would work. So this represents 7 units ranging, our goal would be 600 to about 670 square feet, depending on where the structural layout of the building is. All of them would have off-suite washer and dryers, so the washer and dryers would be a separate utility room. That way we can do a little.
Is that this?
Correct,
Okay.
the stuff that's not clear out there. So that way, we can keep the apartments a little smaller, keep the rent down a little bit, and there's less maintenance on behalf of the owners. This requires a variance. So we've applied for a rezoning to multifamily and a variance at the same time, because under our current multifamily code, there are a couple of things we would need to look at. The first is how many units can we have per acre? This lot's only it's about 78 hundredths of an acre. Currently, the code requires 6 units per acre. That's your max. Now, that's in the other multifamily areas that we have, namely the brick apartments that we have, that's currently, I think they're on about 1/4 acre of a lot, and there's 4 units there. So not typical for a rehab building. So we're hoping to be able to bump that up. This layout, the variance actually asks for 8. This layout shows us 7, which is probably going to be more typical. The 8 was being generous, so we could always scale that back if this is the route the council decides they want to take. So we would have 7 units. The other thing that we have in our current village zoning code is a single bedroom must be 1,000 square feet or larger. And for a single bedroom apartment, one that's really out of the range for standard apartments for 1 bedroom. 1 bedroom apartments in Asheville, South Bloomfield for the new builds are 725 square feet. That's where they start at. Then, and those are going for anywhere between $1,200 and $1,400 a month right now. And then when we look at the apartment complex in Asheville that was the converted schoolhouse there, those are closer to that 600 square feet because they're reutilizing new space. This is also in line with what they're doing with the senior facility. It gives them less space to take care of, and it provides it provides us the ability to provide a more economical solution. So that's what we would see as one of our options, would be a 7-unit multifamily.
What's the anticipated square footage of these?
Between 600 and 700 square feet. And again, all of the utility rooms. So if you look at if you pull up the Beulah Senior Center, you'll see that they all have en-suite washers and dryers, where we moved ours out to kind of better utilize the space. So with that said, again, that's kind of the higher density multifamily. Without the variance, we would be able to put in about 3 to 4 2 to 3 bedroom higher end units. Those units would be, we don't have a price point set yet because it's going to depend on how much the build out costs, obviously, but it would not be geared towards that fixed income, right? It would be more of we'll call them a boutique style apartment. We didn't provide a layout for that because it's one of those things that's going to vary a lot depending on what the layout looks like, but it would be 4, which would comply. Right now, we technically are allowed 4.7 units on that lot, given its size, so we keep it at 4 or under. And at 3 bedrooms, we would need a 1,500 square foot minimum because the way the code works is it's 1,000 square foot, and then there's an additor for every bedroom. So those are the 2 multifamily options. And lastly, we're more than willing to consider. I know that there was a commercial option that was presented to council, and there was some concerns regarding a commercial use. And so that's why we went with the multifamily route to present. But should council want or desire that to be more of a commercial use building, we'd be happy to do, a general commercial district, but limit what can be put there, right? Because obviously we don't think that spot's necessarily geared towards a full-service restaurant and those sorts of things. But, we've had some indications and some folks have mentioned maybe a gym, like a workout facility, a CrossFit center, those sorts of things. So that's on the table too. And we're not trying to push anything towards the village, but we don't want it to sit vacant forever. And we want to try to bring something in a product that the village is happy with. So this meeting our hope was to get some feedback from council as to what they would like to see there most. And then we can kind of move forward there. Our public hearing, I believe, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, but is scheduled before the next regularly scheduled meeting, December 2nd. So that's when the public hearing will be for both the rezoning and for the variance. And again, we aren't fixed on any of those ideas. We wanted to give council options, and just because of the way the meetings shake out and timing, we wanted to go ahead and put both things up front. That way we could get the council's temperature. So with that, I'd love to hear thoughts, comments, or other suggestions for these.
I just want, we mainly want to hear what you guys have, that you would like to see, and I'll tell you why. So, we had somebody interested in a commercial usage for the building, and we could have taken that through council, but it was decided not to. So currently, we have somebody interested in potentially putting in a small auction house, kind of like the one over at 23-762, to do local estate auctions and stuff. We've got somebody looking at it for a gym, but we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because I don't have, if this was where the salon is or the bank is, it's commercial. So it's hard to have discussions with a tenant who potentially wants to run an 8,000 square foot building for commercial use, when the first thing you tell them is they're going to have to come spend 3 months potentially 3 months, going through rezoning for that specific use. And then if that specific use is turned down, then we got to start all over again. And we understand that you don't want to just make it blanket commercial.
Yep.
But I kind of got to have some parameters. So without those parameters to say, okay, I'm good with gyms, I'm good with daycares, I'm good with auction houses, I'm good with this list, then our only other real thing that I know very well will work is residential. And what we're looking at here is for, although we don't want to be hindered by forced to find 7 seniors, but my goal is for the seniors, because I've stood in front of this council before and said, we've priced our kids and our seniors out of our market. There's people here in town that want to downsize, and we don't have an option. So I think that that's a good option. Now, it's also a very expensive option. So if you've got some ideas of what you would like and that you think you would accept, we'd like to have those parameters so that while we're working through this, maybe a tenant will come along. Because with all the other properties that we have, as you well know, we try very hard to make sure that any tenants that move into the properties are an asset to the community, that they're a benefit to the community. We're not looking for I could at least those areas over there for smoke shops and carry outs. Oh my gosh, a dime a dozen every week you could rent to somebody. But we want somebody that's going to service this community and help us keep Old Town intact and bring people into Old Town and supply or service Old Town Commercial Point. So,
good, thank you.
Are you guys thinking complete ADA? Are you going to,
ADA apartments?
when you say income controlled or whatever terminology you want to use, is that going to be one water meter and you pay if there's an overage, or are they going to have individual meters?
We're going to have to completely replumb the building anyway, so we'll probably have separate meters. I'm happy to do a controlled split, to split it, but I think the village has said before that they'd rather have separate meters, so we're fine with that, because it's gotta all be run new anyway. Just to give you an idea on square footage wise, the city of Columbus, a lot of the new, housing that's going in up there, they're in the low fives for,
Square feet, 500 square feet?
Five
Okay.
forty is a good average for a one-bedroom apartment. We're currently building 120 units on Main Street that are at 640 because I wanted to make them bigger than the small units. But this building limits us. If we say that these are got to be 650 units or 700 square feet, now we're down to 6 units, and you can't spend the kind of money it takes to build 6 units and try to keep it affordable. It's no longer affordable. And if I've got to charge $1,700 to a senior, I've missed the mark, right? So we need to be in that $1,000 range, and so we need to be, or less. So we need to keep the square footage down to where I can get as many units as possible in the square footage available. And then the other building that's there could be used for storage for the apartments, or just storage in general, or if somebody's got a car they want to park in there, things like that. So, because there's no sewer and water in that building.
Right.
Is there any kind, I know you have limited space and I don't know what this side of it looks like where the building is. Is there going to be any outside sitting area, like green space and things like
One of
that?
the things we looked at, right, is how to utilize those garage doors, because the big thing now, right,
Yeah.
is to have your garage door open up in your living room there and all, and that's fine for younger people. But seniors aren't gonna wanna come in and open their garage door, so we kind of threw that out. And yes, we can put some sitting area and stuff out here, obviously. I mean, we wanna make it, I want to make it so that if my mom or dad need to move in there, they're going to be comfortable. I want it to be nice.
I know the one over in Asheville, of Miller. They have a really nice area out back that they make. My mother-in-law lives there, and they go out there and they have like 4th of July activities, and it's a covered little pavilion.
There's
So
green space on the back side, right?
something like that, and I didn't know if maybe like the back part
In between the firehouse and
Would-
the houses.
8 feet.
Yeah, so the answer is, obviously, this hasn't gone through a full design package yet. So obviously, you want to add amenities in order to draw in the residents. So I'm sure that given the space that once the design package comes out, there'll be some sort of an outside amenity. Obviously, it's laid out a little bit odd on the lot, so we're gonna have to see where things fit, whether that would be in the front, the back, maybe on the side. But I'm certain that there would be something outside we can't.
that would just be a nice
We're
option.
gonna
I
make a
think.
two-way road going down. Or we're gonna try to make the road a two-way road.
So we spoke with John and we spoke with Alan, and that was one of their main concerns, and the answer is yes. So obviously, we would need Susan to take a look at it, John to take a look at it, and they would let us know, kind of what those roads need to look like, whether or not we need to make parts of them two-way and then put a do not enter sign, so we can keep the alley still one-way. There are options there, but that's kind of in Susan and John's wheelhouse, but we do understand that, something's gonna have to be looked at in that
The
general
curve
area.
there is what concerns me. When you're coming down around and you're about to turn, is that First Street there,
Mhm.
Alan? That curve is really tight right there.
Mhm.
So, because I know people have come in the wrong way as I'm coming around and I've almost hit them.
Mhm.
So, and there's a big pole there. So I'm kind of curious how you would do that and make it safe.
Yeah, well, that's again, an engineering
Yeah.
situation, right? So it's something that we would have to look at, and obviously John and folks, when we bring in plans for the building and the layout, they would have to take a look at that for us.
And the garage, you talked about keeping storage. Now, are you storage for the residents? Not like
Ideally,
people
yes.
renting it?
Ideally,
And storing
for
stuff.
residents.
Okay, or like a garage, you mentioned one other time, making a garage, okay.
We're thinking like, partitioned off inside for different residents.
That area is mostly seniors, so I just think it kind of, sorry, Alan, it kind of flows.
You're commercial, Alan, you're commercial, you're not.
It's a prime commercial spot. We're
So
gonna put
it
sheets.
kind of flows, I think
It
seniors.
gets older as you go down, right? You start here and go down.
This is gonna be open to any age. person to move in there. Is that what we're talking
Yeah, well,
about?
it'll be open, but quite frankly, we're gearing it toward, because it's the reason, the first one I drew had two bedrooms in it. But the problem is, once you start putting a second bedroom in, you start bringing in families, and this, we have that, need covered in this area. I mean, obviously, we could use more, but this specifically, I want to try to focus towards seniors.
And we can't put any protected covenants or anything, correct?
So it's something that can be looked at. It's difficult because you have the age discrimination as a category, it's a protected class, so we have to be careful. There are federal statutes, as long as you jump through various hoops with the US government, that could allow for that, but it becomes very, very difficult and very expensive to put in place, is what we found.
Yep.
So the idea would be that we design it for the seniors, and that's what we gear it towards. We, from calling it the Central Village Center and those sorts of things, making sure that it's ADA accessible, and do our best to fill it with the senior residents on fixed income.
So you're looking more for guidance before you spend the 50, 60, 70,000 for engineering, and then us not be open to it.
So
That's the thing, right?
well, yeah, it's the cart before the horse, right? We don't want, now I know that's different than what you have seen with bigger industrial complexes, right? But this isn't $100 million development where we're coming into.
But they've had good attorneys.
Something like that. Oh wait, that's me, right? But in any event, no, it's a situation where what we're doing here is we're trying to get the zoning so that we know what we can put here. And we're open to the zoning suggestions. What we do know is that single family residential does not work here.
Right.
It doesn't work for the building's use. It would be wasteful to tear it down and try to start from the ground up. So we want to put something here that works. No one wants a 6,000 square foot rehabbed firehouse as their primary residence. It just doesn't work. So just trying to figure out so it doesn't remain as a vacant and become a vacant eyesore.
Does the council at this point, are you leaning more towards a multifamily as opposed to commercial?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I
Is
don't.
that
I don't
kinda-
think the area would stomach commercial, but multifamily, if it was Old Town commercial, which probably is what it should have been, it would have allowed for that a lot easier. So I mean, the area I think would stomach it. I don't think commercial would work because then we're worried about, we don't know the traffic. At least this we have an idea. I mean, even if there's 2 cars per unit, we're talking 12, 14 cars and maybe a visitor, but I just wonder if, would that other building, would that be something that if it comes down to it for more green space, would you be willing to eliminate that building and make outdoor facilities for the residents?
It definitely
Or
looks-
gazebos or something?
Well, again, we have to look at it from an amenities market standpoint, right? Because as much as these are 600 square foot apartments, right? So if they're not going to have a ton of storage, they're going to have seasonal necessity storage,
Yeah.
right? So the idea that
Yeah.
if they want to go put up a Christmas tree, but they want to store that Christmas tree, we're going to have to try to provide space for that as well.
There's some storage units out off 762.
But then that's hard for them.
What is nice, like, I'm going back to Miller, I don't know if
Okay,
you've ever
kids.
been in there and looked at those. They actually have a storage room for the residents, and they give them a key,
Mhm.
and they each have this huge area, and they get their lock, and they can store. I mean, my mother-in-law came with a boatload and then some.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
Yeah,
really
perfect for
nice.
that other building.
Yeah,
And that's what that idea is
Yeah.
with that building. So the answer is we could take it down, but then we're losing storage space that they
Yeah.
So our hope is the lot is fairly good size. It's you only have those 2 buildings on it. So I would think that a good planner could come up with an exterior amenity that allows them to be outside and have activities.
Yeah.
And we would do our best to make sure that it's accommodated.
I mean, my personal thing is I think this would be a perfect fit. It would keep the
do
look
too.
of the old building, so it wouldn't change the old town area.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're not voting on it, but I mean, this would be something that I would like to see more done and more research, to see what has to be done. John is our water and sewer okay for, 7 or 8 units there with the laundry room?
Yeah, we got adequate utilities here, not a problem. Yeah, we're good.
I mean, short of that, I guess unless the restaurant in the front is a big hit and we get a bunch of traffic, but Alan, we just went through making that one way. Is that gonna make the post office mad if we go to
Well, no,
two-way on that
if
end?
you're talking, the post office didn't want to see a 2-way street on a narrow alley. If that section of First Street becomes 2-way, just back to the old firehouse. If it's widened and it's official two-way street, that shouldn't be a problem for the post office at all.
Where
Their
would the
problem
widening
was,
come from? Off of Mr. Hill's other property?
it would probably have to a little
Yeah.
bit, a little bit of footage
We'll take a
and
look.
widen it that direction a little bit. I mean, that's something, fortunately, with him being the owner of both
Yeah.
properties, that
We
makes
got
that
some flexibility there.
a little bit of flexibility.
Have either of you by chance talked to the schoolies or Mr. Hartley or any of them around to get their feeling?
We have not started talking to the residents yet. We wanted to talk to council first to make sure it's something that is there. Obviously, we'll have the public hearings. They've all been notified, everyone, including the folks in Walker Point, because they've all been notified about the rezoning application, the variance application. And depending on the feedback we start to get from those, we'll go make, the rounds and the door knocking. I don't think they'll be quite as upset as the folks on Durrett Road the last time I went door knocking, but I think it's definitely in the plans as we move
Yeah.
forward through the process.
Yeah.
Well, I would take it then that probably moving towards residential versus commercial, first of all,
Well, MFA.
or multifamily
Yeah.
as opposed to commercial. I think the second thing then that council really needs to sit back and think about, then if you're kind of on board or leaning towards the rezoning portion, you kind of know where you stand with that. The variance request, do you want, this many units? Do you want something smaller? That's going to be the next thing that council needs to wrap their head around.
And then, not to catch up on, but we're flexible there. So as that comes up, when we get to the point after the public hearings and you have considered things and you're ready to vote, we're willing to accept either. It's kind of, we put both options there, not to try to force one or the other. I want to make that really clear. The variance is there because we knew this might be something that not only the village needed, but council may want. So it's there if you want it. If you don't, we can always proceed as a multifamily that fits within the current zoning code as a multifamily.
And I would say then we probably have we'll put this on the committee of the whole. Let all the council members think about it. You can discuss it at the next committee of the whole meeting amongst yourselves and
Yep.
kind of see which way you're leaning towards the variance side of it.
What's the time frame after it will be approved? Ballpark, a year? Two?
Oh, for rehab?
So the rehab's easy, once we get all the permits. It's a matter of jackhammering up and laying her down and doing it. So, that part's 6 months.
Oh.
The problem is getting to the permit process, getting this approved and then getting the engineered drawings approved.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, well, like I said, at the next meeting or prior to the next meeting at 6:30, we have
6:30 is one and then 6:45.
then 6:45 is the second public hearing. We're having one public hearing for the variance and one public hearing for the rezoning. So we have to do
So that,
two separate meetings, and that'll be at the December, prior to the December council meeting.
And I'll go ahead and put the packets in your
The
mailboxes
6:30.
tomorrow. You have a copy of the variance as well as the
Okay.
zoning.
Okay.
And by all means, if any of the public, if they reach out to you and they've got questions, you can point in my direction, point in Keaton's direction. We're more than happy to answer questions at any time. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Really done. Thank you.
Okay, up next, we have the COI Rickenbacker Lot 5 variance request. We've discussed this at the last committee of the whole meeting. We have, I believe it is up for a third reading this evening. Yes, their major site plan's up for a third reading this evening, so you'll be voting on that a little bit later on. In order to pass the major site plan, if you're planning, this variance would have to be passed.
Mhm.
They cannot move forward with their major site plan as presented without a variance.
So we need a motion to adopt?
We need a motion if council does, first of all, is there any other discussion on this variance request?
It's been well explained, and it's a no blood, no foul. It's one of these things where they don't gain a particular advantage over any other landowner, and the village has no loss in the process. It's something, it's a no contest, and I would move for approval.
And it's something that we put on as extra protection. They said they're not even getting close to the EPA, so
Right.
it's
Correct.
just removing our own extra protection.
That's pretty much what the variance would do
Yep.
with that. So Ross, was that a motion to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Ross to approve the variance request.
Second.
Very second. We have a second by Eric. Roll call vote.
Jay,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Motion passed. Variance is approved. Okay, we'll move on to legislation. First up tonight's Resolution 32-2024, a resolution authorizing and directing the village administrator to enter into a contract with Rumpke of Ohio, Inc. for the village refuse collection and curbside recycling program for calendar years 2025 through 2027 and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive.
Before we, is there any other discussion? I know John made his recommendation and the legislation, John had gave me his recommendation. That's why the legislation has the name already in it.
Yes.
Any other discussion by council? And I would say that this, we really need to waive this. And if this is the way we're going, we need to waive this and get through this so that the administrative side can get the notices out and get everything taken care of prior to January 1.
Yep.
Because you guys have to get everybody to re-up on their, all that.
And what we're gonna plan on doing is sending letters out with the December 1st bill with the form and letting people know that they have to get that turned back into us to continue or want to sign up for it.
okay. So everybody should look for that in their December bill.
Okay, so I take it
Motion to
Eric
waive.
made a motion to waive the 3 readings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jay. Roll call vote to waive the 3 readings.
Eric,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt resolution 32-2024?
Motion.
We have a motion by Nancy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay. Roll call vote to adopt.
Nancy,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, our next item up for a second reading this evening is ordinance 2024-16, an ordinance accepting the final plat of Foxfire subdivision Phase 2, Part 3,
Phase 3, Part 2.
Phase 3, Part 2. We get that right. Okay, and next item up for a second reading this evening is Resolution 31-2024, a resolution approving the major site plan application for Mario Reyes Rosales for the El Canon Retail Center and Restaurant. Is there any more discussion on this? We really haven't, I don't think we've had any major discussion on this. We have, Dean is here. If anyone, is there any questions or concerns about this item?
I spoke with him briefly before the meeting about the number. They'd originally said 3, and when they rotated it, it seems like it's going to make sense to possibly have 4 or 5 other tenants with the way they made it a right angle instead of a straight. I didn't really realize that they had said they would rotate the building and they rotated it to make an L. So now that he explained that, to me, it makes more sense to not say just the 3, and whether they have 3 big ones or 5 or 6 small ones, I don't think that's going to
Okay.
really have a whole lot of.
Any other discussion or questions?
I'm satisfied with where we are with it.
Okay, this will be up for a third reading at our next meeting then. Next item up is Resolution 29-2024, a resolution to make temporary appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Commercial Point, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. Next item up for a third reading this evening is ordinance 2024-13, an ordinance amending the zoning code of the Village of Commercial Point to repeal and replace section 1135.04 of the zoning code as to street closures and village property event permits.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt by Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nancy. Roll call vote to adopt.
Jay,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item up for a third reading is ordinance 2024-14, an ordinance amending chapter 806 of the codified ordinances of the Village of Commercial Point, peddlers, itinerant merchants, and solicitors. Is there any other discussion on this? Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-14?
So moved.
Motion by Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Roll call vote to adopt?
Eric,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Ross.
Motion passed. And the last item for a third reading is Resolution 26-2024, a resolution approving the major site plan application for COI Rickenbacker Lot 5 LLC as to Lot 5 in the Rickenbacker Exchange Part 3 development. Any other discussion on this one?
My only concern is the amount of truck traffic. Is that going to cause a problem at the entrance off of 104? And if we have to make that right in, right out, is that going to be our expense or will that come back to them? Because with 400 or 500 truck and trailer spots, obviously they're going to use it for storage, but there's still going to be a large amount. I just don't know that the village needs to incur if that has to be done. I know he said most of them would go out towards 762 to go to 23, but without there being a light there, is there any way if that has to happen, we can have them take care of that, or is that going to fall on the village?
I would say that would probably fall on the village because it's basically they've got a building on an open street, on a public street.
I mean, we approved it as
It's an industrial park,
I mean,
which is set up for a lot more warehouses, and you're going to see a lot more traffic coming
Yeah.
up and down through there. I mean, that's what it was set up for.
Does that not come out that Kenmore that he was talking about?
They could come out any direction they wish. The game plan, I think all along has been they would probably come out down by the sewage plant to Route 762 where the light's flashing now. And with this much traffic coming, I don't know if this is enough to warrant ODOT to give us the warrant to turn the
Well, that's
light
what I
on
was
yet
gonna
or not.
say. If it's that much and they go out that way, then maybe we could turn that light on and it wouldn't be such an issue.
But that becomes an ODOT decision. They're the ones that tell us when we can turn it off and on. So once they determine if that's a problem,
Did you say
the light would
was
come on.
working?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. That's my only concern is how could we steer the trucks from going out that direction? Coming in is fine, but how could we steer them from going out that direction and kind of?
It just kind of, I think it falls back to what direction are they heading? I mean, if they're heading towards 270, chances are they're going to go out 762 to 23 north anyway.
They're not going to sit there trying to get out of the traffic.
I don't see them.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I would hope not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do we have a motion to adopt resolution 26-2024?
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jay. Roll call vote to adopt.
Ross,
yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Motion passed. We have no pending administrative action. Does anyone on council have any additional business?
One thing I forgot to mention is I'd like, at our next COW meeting, is to start looking at the wages for next year for Wendy to be able to get things prepared. She mentioned maybe we might want to start talking about that now. So if there's anyone that has, I mean, we just gave a substantial raise to the water department, so I wouldn't see that they probably have to go through and do a whole thing again with them, but any other department if we have, so we can have to look at.
So you mean for the department heads to bring something?
Yeah.
Or, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
That's usually what they do. They bring,
Okay.
so just have that on there. And don't forget to vote tomorrow.
I've also got some additional business.
Oh,
Just to bring council a little bit up to speed with our property owner up at Durrett Road and 104 Amazon.
No.
Just to let all of you know, in case you're not aware, a little bit of the back history on Amazon is they've publicly admitted that they're going to make a $7 billion investment in Central Ohio.
Right.
Because of that, the governor has declared them gave their project mega status. Once they are declared a mega status project, they are they're allowed to request a tax abatement for a total of 30 years versus the typical 15-year tax abatements. That's pretty much what mega project status will do for you, and that's pretty much most of it. We had a meeting with Amazon. I met with them probably about 4 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And in discussing with them, they realize it's going to be a while before they're going to have enough electric to be able to build anything here. The power grid just will not satisfy their needs at this point in time. But they are wanting to continue to move forward with this project. They would like to get the abatement agreements and TIF agreements all in place. So when the power does show up, they're ready just to pull the trigger and run with it. Where we are sitting with them right now is they would like to have these agreements in place by the end of this year, which is just
24.
Yes.
What?
By December 31st of this year, they would like to have these agreements in place. That's pretty.
There goes the Christmas party.
Or it's going to be a big Christmas party on their dime.
Typically, what they have, and they have models that they typically deal with other communities that they've moved into. Pretty much what they're looking at doing is they want to negotiate one contract with the municipality where they have their footprint, which means they want to negotiate a CRA agreement. And the CRA agreement is an abatement agreement. It's Community Reinvestment Authority. They would like to do a CRA agreement with the Village of Commercial Point. And when companies are given abatements, a lot of people think, oh, they got 100% abatement, they don't pay property taxes. And that's kind of true. They don't pay property taxes. What they do pay is payments to the municipalities or the school district in lieu of taxes. And those payments in lieu of taxes are called pilot payments. Typically, what they will do, or what Amazon's model is, they want to negotiate with the village. We get so much of an abatement, and they would negotiate with the village what the pilot payment would be to the village. What the village would do is then do what they call intergovernmental agreements with any other interested stakeholder, and we would work out our own individual agreements with them. To let everyone know what's been discussed and where we are right at the moment, we don't know, we haven't reached an agreement with Amazon by no means yet, and that would all of this is subject to council approval. But they're looking at giving, how their model works is they give a percentage of their overall abatement to, they would like, okay, I'm going to give you 5%. If my abatement's worth $100, I'm going to give you 5% of it to distribute to everybody in the room through your intergovernmental agreements. So if it's 5% for every $100 that they pay in would have to pay in property tax, every $100 they don't pay, they'd turn up handing the village a check for $5. And we would sit there and be splitting that off with the other groups. We had a meeting with the town. Well, I was at a township meeting and kind of got drafted in, put in the corner on this one. And we had a kind of long discussion about it. And also Wendy and I met with the school superintendent and Trey Fosnoff as well. And we discussed the CRA agreement with the school for the first time. They expressed interest in that they wanted to meet and work out their own agreement with Amazon. I told them no. I said, Amazon said they want to deal with the village. They're not in here to make agreements with the school and anybody else involved. They want one agreement with the village. They'll write whatever we agree to with them. They will write us a check and we will distribute that money through our intergovernmental agreements. I told the school what I was looking at was whatever the fund is, however much it amounts to, the village takes 50% of that money and that goes to us. 25% of that dollar figure goes to the school and 25% goes to the fire department. Where we stand right now, we do not have to have the township or fire department's permission to enter into this agreement. Right. So we don't have to give them anything. The school does have to sign off on the agreement. So if they refuse, if we can't reach an agreement with them, then the whole thing goes down the toilet.
The whole CRA?
Yep, the whole Amazon.
Oh.
So it's kind of, there's what you need to look at. And like I said, my stance on this was we take 50% because the village, Amazon would not be here if the village would not have invested $22 million in a water and sewer plant. They would not be here.
No.
Also, for Amazon to come in here, Amazon has to, or we have to do another $12 million in infrastructure improvements, minimum. So you're going to be looking at somewhere from $34 to $36 million in village improvements, or Amazon can't come. We have made all the improvements. We have spent all the money so far. The school hasn't put a nickel into this.
And this isn't going to increase anything to the school. I mean,
They made the comment, well, they're bringing in employees. And I said, yes. And they're talking 50 employees per building, which is what they've kind of been saying, 25 Amazon employees and 25 full-time contractors. So then the school was saying, well, there's 50 families per building moving in. I didn't go down that road with him. My thought is, no, businesses don't they bring in employees, but houses bring students.
100%.
So as far as I look at this brings in no students to them. This is no money to them. This is free money to the school. If the school doesn't, like I said, they can say, well, I want more money. And if I say, or if the council says no, here's what we're willing to give you. You're assuming no risk. You're taking on no responsibility. You're putting in no money. The village has to somehow get back $34 million of infrastructure. We have to hire we're going to be asking for additional water and utility employees to handle this additional infrastructure.
Sure.
And we're going to have to maintain it for the rest of our lives.
Lives.
So that's kind of where I see that we should get 50%. The fire department, they've been left out of every agreement that we've ever had.
right.
I personally think, I shouldn't say they've been left out of every agreement. They did have an agreement with K-Nova.
I said they got pilot payments for the.
On the CRA, the previous CRA that was done with K-Nova, the only people that made out on that was the school. The school wound up getting, it's projected a little over $30 million in pilot payments over the next 15 years. TIF payments, there's a TIF on that property too. The school's projected to get over $130 million in TIF payments over the next 30 years. So combined, the school's going to get, between the TIF and the CRA, the school is projected to get over $160 million over the next 30 years.
Does that throw a hold harmless?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's for buildings that don't bring in any rooftops, correct?
That's from when the buildings are built. Here it is. Here's what you get. So that's what they're projected to take over the next 30 years. The village, out of that 15-year CRA agreement, gets zero. We don't get a penny. Out of the TIF agreement, we get 15% of the TIF monies for the first 15 years and 10% for the back 15 years. And that's all the village gets off of the TIF agreement. So we're not basically making anything off the agreements we've got in place. The fire department, we told them before we would cut a TIF deal that K-Nova had to work something out with the fire department. And we held them to that. And the fire department the township trustees negotiated an agreement with K-Nova prior to us allowing K-Nova to start building their first building. That agreement, the fire department accepted 5 cents a square foot for every building that's built. Plus they was getting, I think, like a $250,000 payment.
Mm-hmm.
And when a first building is started over on the Amazon property, I think they're supposed to get another $250,000, $300,000 payment.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing the fire department's getting, if anything was ever built. So this is where we stand with it. So it's a pretty simple agreement. My thing is, I met with, like I said, we met with the superintendent and we said, this is where the village is coming from. We don't know how much the money is at this time. That will be how Commercial Point will have to negotiate with Amazon. Amazon, like I said, they get this, whatever the value of their abatement is, they would give a percentage of that to the community, which would be the village, and the village will split it up between whoever we have agreements with.
Is there a algorithm per the ORC that figures out what that abatement's worth?
It can be figured out, and there's some models being done, but at this point, and we would know before anything was signed what kind of dollars we're looking at.
Yeah.
But right now, the agreement hasn't been reached or anything else, so we don't know where we stand with Amazon at this point in time. publicly.
Do the trustees have to approve it as well,
No.
like other tax things?
Nope, the
No,
trustees have no
Or
say.
not trustee, I'm sorry, the commissioners.
Nope. From what I can see, the commissioners don't even approve this. I was looking for
Oh.
that today. I thought the county commissioners had to
I thought they had to
approve.
approve everything.
We couldn't find, what we looked up today, you take an abatement, a CRA agreement, you give it to the auditor, he stamps it, and then it goes to the Department of Development, and the state decides abatements.
So
Abatements and TIFs.
is it, in your opinion and Bill's opinion, is it feasible to keep the best interest of the village and get it done that quickly?
To me, it's a pretty simple thing. We're going to get if their abatement's worth $1,000, and they want to give the village $10,000 a year to split up between everybody, and we take $5,000 a year, and the township takes 20, or the fire department 2,500, school 2,500, and there you are. I mean, it's simple math.
Right.
And I know that there's a lot of people, the school is wanting to look at their models, and they started down the path of, well, they've got their millage and this and that, and it's like, I'm not here to discuss the millage or anything else. We're keeping it simple. Amazon's going to give us a percentage of the value of the abatement. We give a percentage of this money we collect to a couple different entities, and we're done with it. I don't think it's rocket science.
So we take 50%. Where's the other 50% go?
25 to the school and 25 to the fire department.
Okay, so I thought you meant we take 50 and then 25 of that 50 goes to each.
No.
Okay, so we take a full 50 and then 25. Okay.
We would
I'm
take,
sorry, I
we would take-
misunderstood.
yeah, it would be whatever, a percentage, whatever we work out with Amazon, whatever the percentage of the abatement that we would take. If it's $100, if it's 1,000, if it's 10,000, if it's $500,000, whatever it works out to, we would take 50% of that, and this would be a 30-year abatement.
So what has to happen from this point to get that done by the end of the year?
From this point, at the moment, we need to get an agreement with the school, and they get them to sign off on this, which I don't know if they're even willing to go down that road. We also, if they are, then I need to get agreements put together and get the school's signature on these agreements saying that they will not object to the abatement. Once the school does not object to the tax abatement, we can go to Amazon and get the final deal worked out with them.
What do you need from us?
At this point, I just wanted you to be aware
Okay.
of what I've said in these meetings. I've met with the township. I've basically spelled it out to them. They're tickled to death because they realize this is free money to them. I look upon the township, or specifically the fire department, they will accept some more responsibility because all of a sudden you've got a building sitting here. Although Amazon's kind of made it clear they don't even want the fire department in there. They have made, and there's Spencer, the assistant fire chief he was at the township meeting, and he used to work in a district that had I don't know if it was Amazon or somebody else, and that was basically what they told him. They said, no, you guys don't have a reason to be in this building.
Wow.
They treat it like a government facility. So that's pretty much how secure those places are. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that's where I've stood. Does anyone have any problem with anything I've said or those facts, figures, or anything else?
No.
So the quicker we can get it done, the better off we're gonna be.
Yeah.
I just wanted everyone to be aware that that's what we're doing, and and also that would be whatever we negotiate would be per building. So if they added additional buildings, if they added 2 more buildings down the road, it'd be the same thing for each one of those buildings. If they had 10 buildings, it'd be the same thing for all 10 of them.
And that's only for the property they already own. It would be
Yes.
something separate if they would go.
That is for the property, that 234 acres up
Mhm.
there at Durrett Road.
Right.
And 104.
And there's 8 buildings proposed.
Right now, no, it's the agreement that we're looking at is 1 building.
Okay.
1 building. So that's kind of where it's at. That's what's been discussed. I hopefully we'll see what we hear back, if anything, from the school. We may be trying to put together some legislation so that we can give it to the school. Maybe that might be if they don't get back with us or have much comment, we will go to them and, hey, here's a piece, will you sign it? Just see what they say. I mean,
So this would have to be done before the December 2nd meeting to get it done by the end of the year.
well, or a special meeting or something or other, and it just depends on how quick everyone can move. I realize the school, they've got to move quick on this. And,
Sure.
and just last week was the first they heard anything about it. Like I said, and when he asked to meet individually with Amazon to work out their own agreement, and I told him no, wasn't how this was going to go. The Amazon does, they said, well, that's not how we do it. So it's pretty much cut and dried. That's what we're looking at doing.
Okay.
And I don't know have I left anything out on that meeting or anything?
I think we have to put out notices that we're looking at going into these agreements with Amazon, and those notices have to be sent to the school. So we're gonna have to look into that tomorrow.
We'll figure out who else we have to notify and let people know. But right now, those are the percentages I'm looking at. Those are my reasons for going with those percentages. We'll see where we're at.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep. At this time, we have a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Motion by Nancy. Is there a second? Second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. This meeting is adjourned.
I know.